Good afternoon. It is September 27th, 2022. And today we just had a down day. Um, let's see, maybe we made this. So yeah, you can see, I mean, you see this all the time. If it's not a measured move of the range, the overnight range, then it's a measured move of the midline to the lows or midline to the highs. That's where the breakout stops. You can see that. Um, it's not 100% obviously, but it happens so much, um, and that's what happened here. And this could also be two measured legs down. Um, Probably is, yeah. I mean, pretty much. So that happens all the time. Let's take a look at these trades, and we'll see if I missed anything. So 5 o'clock comes probably in this range, I think. Yeah, just about. We're peaking up here, and so we had this down. We had this leg of correction from the uptrend in the overnight, and then we make a new high, and it reverses. I don't see anything. This second entry long right here, that signal bar isn't good, so I don't think you want to take that. And we just form this range. Breakout to the high side, it fails and goes lower, and then this looks like a second entry short. Maybe you would have played it that way, but it looks too congestive for me, for my liking. And you get a first failed second entry long, so you might take that one too. Let's see. And yeah, I'm not too crazy about that. It's not clear what's happening at that point, but it does look like we broke out to the high side. So I mean, you might take that. Let me mark that as a failure. But it just looks a bit aggressive. So price is open, moving lower, and they probably just trapped a bunch of shorts down here, and you get a first entry. So the failure doesn't come until up here, and this is probably something like that. That's probably how I'd be playing it in real time. And you see we get a break and a couple legs up to a new high before we reverse. And you get a first entry, failed second entry. I didn't see that, so that's a failure right there. And I like it because it just broke out above the overnight high. So when we get that, I mean, there's room to the lows. 24. There's room for a scalp to the lows. You know, we had a break of this channel and a move to a new high. So I think you want to take this one. Even though this first leg is above the EMA, I think you want to take that. We start moving down. We correct here. You actually get a reversal here, but I wouldn't take that going into this trend channel. Maybe if you measure this and you know you have space, room, I mean, because there is room, but it looks counter trend to me. Come up here, first entry, and you get a failure. It doesn't trigger. I don't know what happened here. I wasn't watching this live, so I don't know if this one broke lower, then went higher. If that was the case, you might have gotten stopped out, but I think that's one of those scenarios that Max says put it above the previous swing high. So if you did that, then you'd be fine. And this was a failure that a lot of people liked. But these outside bars have been trapping us these past couple weeks. So you got to be really careful when the personality is like this. Come down here, first entry, second entry, doesn't set up, turns into congestion. This is just the midline of the range. at the overnight range, and you can see here we come up short. Well, we came up short here, and we come up short again, and then it just reverses on out of here. So you do get a reversal right here, but with 2 dojis in a row, I don't think you want to take that. But then we get a second entry long. You might consider that, but now it's looking congestive. So you gotta be careful, and that's right by this range. It's right at the midline of the overnight, so there are plenty of reasons to stay out of that. Then we're working higher, but it's like a range with an upward bias. This looks like a second entry, but it's kind of in no man's land. I mean, maybe you have a trend drawn like that is probably how I'd have it drawn. So if you have it drawn like that, maybe you would consider that, but and it does look like a double bottom, first entry, failed second entry short. So maybe you consider that. And then we form this trend channel, or this trend line right here. But you wouldn't have really had it drawn until right here. So we come down here, and you get a first entry, failed second entry short. I like this setup because, I mean, the trend line fits off here, off these highs. The midline looks like it works. So if you see all that in real time, I think you take this. We're working higher. I don't see anything in here. But you get a first entry, second entry off the trend channel. But that's like a new low, and I'm just not crazy about it. And it's just so hard in real time to recognize this trend channel. And even to trust it, because we didn't come up to the highs right here. But it does work higher, and then we just form this range. And this is too choppy and congestive. I don't think you want to take anything in here. Breaks out to the low side, comes back, probably test that midline before failing. You can see they trapped a bunch of shorts right here, took it a little higher to that midline, and then the floor falls out. And you do get a failed second entry long. I'll give that a green, but you're going into the midline, and we know there's support there, so and that's far from the EMA, so I don't think you want to take that. This is all too far from the EMA for my liking. Come here, no second entry short, very congestive range, and then slowly we start moving down. So again, this is a situation where it's hard to know in real time that this is a trend line, but we do get a second entry short, and I mean, that is, you could draw this trend line off of those lows and match it to these highs. And if you don't take this one, you get a first failed second entry long. You might take that, but you're at the overnight lows. So that's a tough call. But then we get a first entry, failed second entry. This is not a great setup, but this looked like a pretty strong trend to me. And this is a low risk bar. That's the main reason. And it's off the midline. That's the main reason I marked it. And then we get an overshoot, some more movement down, and another overshoot. And so if you see all that, you might expect a reversal, which basically happened right here. But I kind of looked at this as this was a new low, first entry, failed second entry. But I mean, you're not going to take this because it's not a good setup anyway. But I mean, there are signs here that we might correct, is basically what I'm trying to say. So maybe you look at well, I was looking at this as a double bottom, first entry, failed second entry, but oh yeah, that is a second entry. So maybe you take this one after that move, expecting another leg up. Come up here, you get a second entry long, but it's just under the EMA, and this is just chopping around on both sides of the EMA. We break out to the high side. First entry failed, second entry. I like that. I don't know in real time if I'd be able to take that with confidence, but I like that. It's like a failed breakout. This looks like a second entry short, but it's too much of a range. This is just so choppy on both sides of the EMA. I don't like anything in here, personally. Breakout to the low side, fails. Test the midline, come back down. Breakout to the low side, it fails again. That's a second entry long, but I don't think you can go long in there. Higher low. And then we get this two legs of correction and failed second entry short, but it's not a good setup. Too far from the EMA. We get this. I looked at this as a double top, first entry, second entry, but it's just in no man's land. And that brings us to the last hour of the day. You get a okay, I guess I marked this as a trap, but that's not. Okay, I can't delete that box, but I don't know why I marked that. If this would technically, oh, okay, the failure doesn't happen until right here, but they just trap a bunch of people. And I mean, we're at the overnight lows, we're at the closing price from yesterday, and there's dojis in here. 1, really 2, 3, 4. These are all dojis, so you got to be careful. Yeah. I mean, I might consider this one just because it looks like a two-legged correction at this point. But you can see that didn't go very far, and we rocket on down, and you actually get a failure right here that confirms the trend channel. So you might take that, but it just looks like one leg and one-legged correction. But I like this second entry short off that trend channel. And that's enough for a scalp, but it doesn't go further. And I guess what you can look at is I think I was looking at this level, how choppy this is. It does kind of look like a range. But other than that, I mean, this looked pretty good. This is a two-tiered channel. So that's what gave me confidence in taking this. But then you get this failure that looks like it sets up well, but that's actually another thing to note. Look, this second entry, it's got some overlap. So when it only gives you a scalp, it bounces off that midline. That's where I'm pretty sure it bounced the way I had it drawn earlier. It bounces off that midline, it comes back, and then we got all that overlap. That's when I think that's why this one failed. And you can see it just turns into a range, and then that brings you into 1230. And with how choppy this is, I think you just want to stay out. So that's how I saw it today. I hope everyone had a great day, and I'll be back tomorrow.